Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Roast.
I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
This is our reaction and review for Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
We did a video last week talking all about the casino and that little drop that happened with that Oliver and Loretta scene in Episode 6. That drop has basically become an ocean.
Absolutely. It is all coming together where Camilla is now looking to turn the Arconia into a casino, which makes sense. I mean, they've got the Velvet Room below, we've got the three billionaires. They're all bidding to get their hands on what will be the big casino. And Camilla very specifically wanted to be the Arconia. And I mean, no, thank you. No, thank you, Camilla.
This is just one of those situations where, of course, it has to be the Arconia in her mind. Of course, I'm going to sit
Beautiful
here.
building.
It's a very beautiful building. You're still not going to get it, Camilla. Like, I'm sitting here being like, okay, there is a 0% chance that this season is ending with everyone being kicked out of the Arconia.
Yeah, I mean, she would really need to be able to find a way to get everyone out of that building. And there are certain people in that building, like Uma, Howard, they're never leaving. Like, it's not a thing that's going to happen.
She would need to drag all of them out, kicking, screaming. I don't know if you're going to have to super glue them to something. I think the effectiveness of this reveal at the end of this episode, to me, it's not so much the cliffhanger of, oh, Camilla has a gun pointed at Charles, Mabel, and Oliver, because it's like they're not going to kill off one of the trio. But I think it's rather the question of, okay, we know that Camilla's capable of doing this as a warning. Does this then mean that she is actually the killer?
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. I mean, you guys let us know too. How many people out there think that the billionaires or one of the billionaires or all the billionaires are actually the killer?
All right, well, before we get into that and a whole lot more from this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are here for all things Only Murders in the Building. We have
Yes.
reviews, previews, theories every single week. We love breaking this stuff down with you guys, and we are also in the midst right now of covering Gen V over on Prime Video and looking towards the end of this month. How better to celebrate spooky season with It Welcome to Derry finally coming to HBO?
Absolutely. And you know there's going to be a mystery with that as well. So, of course, we are going to be here with you guys for that. And if you do want to talk with us further about Only Murders in the Building, we are having chats, discussions, polls, all kinds of fun stuff going on over on our Patreon. So, I'll leave a link for you below. And thank you so much to everyone who is on our Patreon. We really appreciate it. It helps us a lot here at the channel.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the support.
Yeah.
I will just say this from the get-go here. Like, do I necessarily think Camilla is the killer of Nikki or Lester? No, but at the same time, it would be an interesting break for this show's formula to do something that is this obvious at the end of episode 7 and then spend a lot of the rest of the season being like, okay, how can we actually get this person arrested? Because typically we know it's around the end of episode 9. We all know who the killer is, and then we just have one episode watching them get caught.
Okay, everybody put on your hard hats.
Oh, all right, early. All right.
Listen, this is a good season, but it's not a fantastic season. And I think part of the problem that Only Murders is running into is just a little bit of fatigue because we all know what the formula is now. Is
Yeah.
typically the killer is going to be somebody that we don't see as much, which is why a lot of us are leaning on the mayor right now. Like he had a little bit more of a role in this, and it's usually somebody who's not like the biggest star that they've brought on. It's more of a supporting character that you don't see that much. And that's why we end up with the Poppies and the Cliffs and, Marshall the writer and a lot of people that were kind of like, oh, okay, we didn't suspect them because they're not really on the screen that much. And yeah, by episode 7, 8, 9, we really are getting into the meat of who it probably is. And we're seeing them a little bit more. I would really like to see this season like end with a bang, where instead of it being not one of the big guest stars, because typically it's not, let's have it be one of the big guest stars that we just really wouldn't suspect.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun with that. This is the time for Only Murders to break the mold a little
They
bit.
got to shake it up. They
Yeah,
got to shake it up.
they have to do something beyond just, okay, here are some episodes that are funny and might get some Emmy consideration. I know that there have been some people out there kind of speculating about, okay, well, what if they don't actually resolve the case at all this season and they do some sort of cliffhanger? And it's like,
Mhm.
that's appealing on some level. I mean, at the same time, I don't know if they can stretch these mysteries into 2 seasons, but I do think that trying to shift it around a little bit where we either know the killer earlier or we don't know the killer until the very end of the finale, or have it be a really, really big name. I think they just need to do something so that we all feel like, okay, we underestimated you writers going into the finale, where I think a lot of us are just sort of like, well, season 2 said this and 3 said that, so we've got it all planned.
Absolutely. I think it's time for them to shake it up a little bit, get like one of their big guest name stars to be the killer and not just have it end where it's the mayor, because it does feel a lot like it's the mayor, and that's where we're going to end up with this, because we learned more about the mayor, of course, is
Mhm.
coming on to the podcast. He's really excited. He's revealed that Bash has put a lot of money into his campaign to get him to where he is, that his assistant, Romy is his, Bash's niece. So she's there watching over him, feeding back any information that needs to go back to Bash. And Bash has been, of course, using him politically to get whatever it is he needs, that the favors just keep on coming.
I will say this. One thing I did really like about this episode is that they went ahead and were like, we all know you're suspecting Romy, mostly
Yes.
because of the playbook that we've already been talking about here. So at the very least, I feel like because they planted in Romy as Bash's niece and that she's sort of adversarial to the mayor in that sense, I kind of feel like that is the show subtly telling us, okay, we're not going to have it be the assistant again. You already know a secret of Romy's at this point, so you can go ahead and just throw her out the window.
I really hope so, because if we end this season and it's Romy,
I know.
I'm going to be really disappointed with that reveal.
Yeah. Now, with the mayor, I think there's a couple of ways they could do this where is it predictable based on the fact that we've been talking about this for the better part of the season?
Yeah.
Sure. But at the same time, you could make it a little bit more fascinating to me if the mayor is the killer and he's really just trying to frame the billionaires for it. And if this is all set up by what he says to the trio as they're recording their special podcast with Romy out of the room.
Yeah, because he really straight up was like, "Oh, you think that it's Bash? Yeah, 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 it's Bash. Go get him." So it feels like tinfoil hat. There was probably a situation where Bash and the billionaires have pushed him into killing or having a hand in it, or even just like disposing of the body. Nikki's body. Oh, I need you to move this body. I need you to keep it refrigerated. I need you to do whatever, that he's being asked to do some really shady things. And now he's just in so deep now that these favors are just holding him prisoner as mayor, as with Bash, and he can't get out of it now.
Yeah. And if he sees all this as a possibility of, oh, you wanting to go after Bash, and by all means.
Perfect.
Yeah, like I know I didn't know who I was going to necessarily frame this on. It just wasn't going to be me, but to get Bash out of my hair, I would love nothing more than that. And if he does turn out to be the chief adversary, at least this time around, there's a chance for it to be somebody in power and somebody who actually has an element of resources in order to slow the trio down. Not so much money like we saw with the One Defy deal, but the presumed idea of influence here, that I've got the influence where even if you suspect me, no one is ever going to believe you.
Absolutely.
I will say, though, that the best part of this episode, just to me, is when we go to the early days of the retreat, where the trio is told to go and visit Bash. We need to discuss Bash's child for a moment, because
oh my God, standing in the pool with the no water. This season, while it is lacking in some things, it is not lacking in comedy. This season is so funny.
I feel like with this Bash character, I know a lot of people out there are probably just going to be like, oh, it's based directly on one person. And I understand that logic, but I actually feel like the writers just went and looked up like 7 weird billionaire tech people and just sort of molded them all into one. And the
Yep.
idea that, okay, I am going to get this child on the healthiest diet possible so that he's going to live to be 150.
Here's your tree bark.
Yeah, it's so weird and it's so absurd, but I think it also does paint this interesting picture of here's Bash, someone just obsessed with the idea of living forever. Is he really then going to be someone who actually wants to end other people's lives?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because he did tell this story of like, losing his parent and how that affected him, and the idea of death, really like freaks him out. He doesn't want to die. He doesn't want anyone around him to die. So it would be interesting then if it turned out that he is the person that's killing somebody else. It's a bit odd because he seems like he is very uncomfortable with death.
Yeah, very uncomfortable. I feel like what's going on with Bashir is that could he very much be involved? Like 1,000,000%. He dropped a line in here, or rather, it was assumed that much like Peter Dinklage on Dexter Resurrection, Bash has his hands very deep in the pockets of the NYPD, donates a lot of money. I can see a scenario where he either sees the death happen or stumbles upon this body, knows that he is there, and is sort of thinking, well, I can't be associated directly with this, so he may just pay off the cops, not because he's responsible for the death, but just because he doesn't want any bad press out there about him.
This is the thing, is they really are making us try to think that it is Bash because he is the person who's got the police in his pocket. We know that there were, these police at the beginning that were like, oh, the body is supposed to be staged like this and we're supposed to fill out the report like this. So whoever is controlling the police force, whether it is the mayor or it is Bash or it's one of the other billionaires, they dropped that on purpose in this episode for us to really think that this could be Bash.
Yeah, and I think just the idea even further that, okay, Romy's there as a connection to him, and we know that the billionaires are all playing effectively their little games for a development contract.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Okay, my tinfoil hat's already
All
on.
right.
So I don't think that it's Camilla. The minute that she pulled out that gun and was like, give it to me, I'm gonna do whatever I want kind of thing, I was like, okay, it's not her. I just don't think that it's her. And I don't think she wants any more dead bodies in the Arconia. She wants the Arconia. So for her to kill Nikki or kill Lester or have the bodies found at the Arconia does not help her at all. She wants the Arconia pristine, great, washed away all the murders. So for me, this episode took her off the board.
Okay.
Because having more murders at the building doesn't help her. Who wants to go gamble at the murder building? Some people, but not the majority of the people. And she's going to want the majority of the people. So that to me does leave the other two billionaires on the board because they know that she wants the Arconia to be the spot. So if the other two are like, okay, well, let's throw some more murders in here then. Let's really tarnish the Arconia the best that we can so that she's off the board.
I feel like that gun's probably not even loaded, if I'm being honest.
It's probably a cigarette lighter.
Yeah, it's probably just something she's carrying around for the sake of her own self-absorption. But okay, if we're going to stay on the billionaires for a moment, I will say at this point, my antenna are kind of dangling a little bit over Jay more than the other two.
Yes.
And there's a couple of interesting things about him at this point. It is brought up, this idea in this episode of why are you hanging out with these people? And I agree. Why are you hanging out with these weirdos, Jay? I understand that the billionaire class, there's not that many of them. We hear stories about how it can be isolating. Yeah, sure. But there are other billionaires beyond these two. Go talk to some sports team owner or something. And it just feels like you are really connected to them in a way that is suspicious. And we have also seen multiple times now him lie straight up to Mabel's face and Mabel believe him. I don't think Mabel is that gullible. He's just a really good liar.
I'm not interested in a Mabel romance anymore.
I
This is
understand.
so many seasons of her getting hit on or having some sort of a romance. I do not want to see this. I was really glad that she said no, and I hope that they just keep on keeping on with that. But Jay is definitely somebody that I'm looking to because he seemingly is missing a finger. And we know that there's two fingers that are out there, whatever.
Yeah.
But my tinfoil hat theory, if it's Jay, has been that, he's young, he's strong. If somebody's going to be, lifting a body to put up on this hook that's going around in the dry cleaners, it's not Camila and it's not Bash. As many tree barks as he's eating, it's probably not him, but it's probably Jay. And the fact that there's like a cleaver that was in him, and then you got Jay is like either he's missing a finger or his hand has been cut.
Yeah.
It tells me that maybe they were fighting and he got cut, the cleaver cut his finger off, he was able to finally kill him. Like that to me is the biggest, I will call it, smoking gun, bleeding finger that's on the table right now. If it's one of the billionaires, it's Jay.
The fact that they're still not really talking about what happened with the finger, to me,
and the second finger that came up and all of a sudden it's nothing.
It just feels like it has to be that one of them is tied to that in some pretty substantial way. Like, I mean, you've talked before about the idea that maybe Camilla's lost one and she's wearing these gloves, and it's like, okay, that is a possibility. We still can't rule out Jay because we still don't really know what's underneath all of that wrapping, but it's just the argument of, okay, he's strong enough to pick up Nikki. He's probably also fast enough to chase down Lester, if that's a little bit of what's going on here. He's also been kind of established already as a little bit of a black sheep in his family. I don't think it's that far out of the equation. Then it's like, okay, it's already being suggested that you might have just like this hair of darkness, a rebellious streak in you. Like, why not go ahead and take this to another level?
That's right. He's the Roman Roy of this family, where he really wants to prove himself that he's more than just this dumb billionaire kid, and that he's going to be the one that's going to land this casino contract for himself, that this is going to be his big moment to shine. And with that happening, then he definitely needs to take out Nikki, and he needs to secure his spot with these three other billionaires. So, it works out that he takes out Nikki so that, he can at least get the Velvet Room off the board. He's got it happening at the Arconia, which then hurts Camilla as well, right? Like it's like a 2-for-1.
Yeah, he gets a lot of what he wants out of all of this, and I think
he's a big name, so let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah, and speaking of big names, the person who probably would love this the most is Logan Lerman, because I remember several years ago, like Selena's talked about this in interviews, that when she was younger, she had a crush on him, and so did like millions of other teen girls at that point. But it's just like
This is the first time I've ever seen him in anything.
Well, listen,
I'm 50.
We're a little bit old here to be in the crushing on Logan Lerman club.
But I do know that he's a big star.
Yeah, and he's somebody who had never gotten to play a role that I think would be anything like this. I think he would really relish that. But to also get into what you were saying earlier about we don't need him as a Mabel love interest or anyone else, here is my stance. You can have her have a love interest in the final season with one condition, that person is Theo Demas, and I will not accept anyone otherwise.
Yes, I agree. I'd like to see her with Theo. I'd like to see Theo this season. It's episode 7. Where are you, my man? But
I don't know.
I am so over the Mabel love interest, and I'm hoping that because Jay is just lying about everything, like every time he talks to her, he's just lying and lying and lying, that this was just another distraction, that it's like, oh, you're looking over here at this thing? How about I take you to dinner over on this thing?
Yeah, I think he's somebody who just believes his charm is going to get him everywhere because he's been fooling people for however many years that he's been on social media. Like, it feels like for now, the finger is the part of this that I really can't figure out. Like, it's the thing that's right in front of us. We've gone into all these other directions, but it's just the 2-finger thing is driving me mad.
The 2-finger thing and this 1-finger thing that's like turning, blue and like decomposing. And at this point, I'm just like, why are you guys sort of gambling this trophy with this? Like, whose finger is this? Like, just say it.
The only thing I think we can really surmise from watching these billionaires play Operation and do all these different things that are reminiscent of the Rat Race movie that we both really love is just this idea of, okay, they clearly, money means nothing to them. So what would mean something to them? Yeah, it's bragging rights, but I think it's also evidence, and there's power within evidence, and they know
Mhm.
that this finger is then evidence, and so there's actual stakes to a lot of these games that they're playing. Now, as for why they felt the need to put this within a trophy when they were the only three people who were supposedly going to be there and no one else would see it.
Well, I mean, Bash's kid is there. I'm sure there's staff there. I don't know. It's all just weird, anyways, because that finger's got to be decomposing at this point. Like the color of it,
Yeah.
it's not right. Like it's got to be stinking and reeking and falling apart and decomposing. I don't. How long is this finger supposed to be lasting for? It's not on ice anymore. It's just
No.
sitting in a trophy.
Okay, listen, guys. Episode 8, you need to resolve some things with this finger and keep us moving here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's the mystery part of this episode, which at least we come out of with a couple of really strong suspects in
Yep.
between the mayor and Jay and whoever else you guys may suggest here
Yeah.
in the comments. But we also still have these personal stories that are going on underneath, and they're really hitting the one home at this point with Oliver, where
Mhm.
he's desperate to find a place where he feels like he can really belong, where he and Loretta can belong. But now that he knows that, okay, it's Camilla who's taking his apartment away from him, is he going to start to realize that, okay, I got a little bit too in love with this idea when I didn't really consider the other shoe dropping?
Absolutely. And now that that shoe is dropped, I mean, is he going to sell? I would feel like the answer is no. I mean, I did really like watching Charles and Mabel doing the Broadway question, and all of it are Oliver's stories. So
Yes.
they're able to like figure it out and get it together. And it really shows that even though Oliver has found his person, but he's still feeling kind of displaced because they haven't made their home together yet. They
Yeah.
haven't figured out where they're going to be yet. He's really in his head about being, a narcissist and selfish and in for himself and not caring about Lester and all these other things, that he doesn't really see how close his two friends are to him, that even through all the ridiculous stories, they are listening to him and they are absorbing it and they actually care about him. So it was really nice to see him come back at the end on the tractor trailer, just like coming in as slow as he can to help rescue them, to be like, man, these people do care about me.
Yeah, they really, really do. And I think this season is a lot about inadequacy for the trio and how all of them
Yes.
feel inadequate in
Yes.
some way. Where Charles, he feels like he needs to define himself at this point with a relationship. He's getting something out of the podcast, but he doesn't feel whole. I think, especially, it's one of these phenomenons where you watch your best friend get married and you're at a certain
Mhm.
point in your life and you're just sort of like, well, what am I doing with myself? And you start grasping at straws to the point where you're not even recognizable to who you are anymore. I hope that they kind of do something more with Charles, because in this episode, that whole storyline kind of fell flat. It was like once he got catfish, that was sort of it.
Yeah, and it's very strange because with the catfishing and all this stuff, I feel like Charles didn't really get any real answers on what is going on. I mean, they still didn't even really question how they got that finger out of Charles's apartment.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of comments, and we were thinking this as well, that it's probably just Lester the robot. And that's why these saw, this light under the door, that it was just the robot
Mhm.
and controlled by Bash, who went in and was able to get it. That's why their scuff marks look the way that they do, that it was just the wheels. And that's why Bash actually has it. I don't think he sent anyone in. But the fact that he was like pulling out footage, including the footage
Yeah.
of Lester's actual death, and he's just like, oh yeah, I just don't want people to know when I'm coming in and out of the building. Charles is like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. I'm like, what? You don't want his goings and whatever comings to be known, and one of those things he's cut is Lester's murder.
Yeah, there are a lot of loose ends this season, and we're not even going to get into, the big bads over the series or any of that. Just this season, we have the loose end of who broke in to Charles's place. We've also seen the comments. Nobody is really settled about what happened to Loretta's place in the fire. I don't know if we're ever going to get answers on that.
Yeah, because it does feel like somebody said that. We talked a bit about that broken
Yeah.
window. So weird.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. And then there are a lot of questions about all of these people who are working at the Arconia. Like, at this point, how do you not know that, like, somebody may be kind of sniffing around trying to purchase the whole place? It's a little bit odd that Howard somebody who's putting his nose into everybody's business. Like that's never coming up anywhere.
Yeah, unless Howard's been bought off, which he very well might be,
Yeah.
because he is the person that's in charge of the Lester robot. Nobody seems to know why. He doesn't like, he's not part of the support staff of this building at all. So why is he the person that's replacing the doorman with this robot? Like, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. So
No.
it's possible that he's been bought off as well. But people like Uma that are in there, I don't understand why they're not talking about, and there's not more people being like, oh, I've also gotten an offer. Oh, you've also gotten an offer? That's really weird. How come we all have offers? Because you can't just buy Oliver's apartment and then you own the whole building.
No, I'm no real estate expert, but I do not believe it works like that.
Right.
Here, I think is just in general, the biggest frustration with this season, I mean, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not. It's just that we're watching a lot of this through the eyes of our trio, right? And they are really frustrated as well, because typically at this point in the season, we've gotten a lot of clues. We're really narrowing some things down, and we have personally narrowed things down when it comes to how we feel about people. But for the trio themselves, every time they get a step forward, they just take another big step back, where it's like, okay, Camila, she's taken the finger away. They can't talk about the billionaires on the podcast. I mean, they're really not suspicious of the mayor at all anymore. Things have been cleared up with Sophia and Lorraine. It's just, dead end after dead end.
Yeah, this season for that feels a lot like I felt in season 3, where the trio was kind of split up and they weren't really working on the murder as much as they should, because Charles was distracted, Oliver was distracted, Mabel was the only one trying to hold it all down. And this season they are working together, but they're just not really getting anywhere. And normally they're getting somewhere. Like, yeah, it's usually a little forward, a little back, a little forward, a little back, but this just feels like they're going back and back and back and back.
Yeah, like I really hope the next episode has a big breakthrough. We can just cross our fingers and
Yeah.
hope for that. But I do think overall, this was a fun episode to watch, but it also still cemented some of our feelings about this season and how we just hope that we're building towards something that's not just satisfying, but
Yeah.
a little bit different than what we've had over the first 4.
Yeah, they really need to shake this show up.
All right, well, what did you guys think about Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 7? Who is at the top of your own suspect board? Let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description, and we are covering over there exclusively Slow Horses, a show we very much love. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you here next time.